thrown in the water. The boys would convince the chief to build a boat so that way they can smuggle the gold out with them in 3 days. Miguel would grow fonder of the city and tries to make a real difference for everyone living there. And during this time, Chell and Tulio would be growing closer together and a romance would form organically while they're working. And we would learn a lot more about all of our characters along the way. For example, we'd learn that Miguel is actually pretty kind and he's a budding leader. We would learn that Tulio is rather anxious but quite intelligent and adept when he's given a task that he can focus on. And we would learn that Chell is very knowledgeable about the gods, and ultimately it can be hinted that she may have incurred some unwanted advances from Sekal Khan, and that's also why she's been eager to escape, just like they did in the original movie. We'd also get some indication as to what the relationship is between the chief and the high priest, even if we don't expressly have to spell it out. We'd find out that maybe they're brothers, cousins, or otherwise they were once very close, and that's why the chief doesn't outright put an end to all of the cruelty of the high priest, because they once shared a bond that was like Tulio and Miguel. Eventually, we culminate in the same spot at that hip basketball game, and we still get Miguel standing up to the priest and alluding to our theme of the movie as he insists that there's no wickedness in El Dorado, and the priest is actually just cherry picking from the original text to fit his own agenda, and the high priest will still discover that Miguel is not a god because of the cut above his eye and the blood. He decides to search their rooms while they're out celebrating their victory so he can find evidence of this to bring to the chief. But instead of finding that, he finds the map that the guys used to get here, as well as that decoder that Miguel stole at the beginning of the movie, and he's thrilled as he confiscates both of them. The next day, the boat is all ready to go, and we get the same scene where Miguel is having second thoughts about leaving. But instead of coming up to the room and being angry about Tulio and Chell being together, he finds out that Tulio and Chell have been speaking about the new discoveries they've made in the new text that they've been able to decode about the kindness of the gods, and how they really only punish the truly wicked. Chell speaks about the bad text that Sekal Khan has been using to terrorize the citizens of El Dorado, and she also mentions that there's this one particularly wicked book that nobody can decode because many years ago, another temple maiden stole the only decoder that was there for that book, and she left El Dorado, and that decoder was never reclaimed. This would be the first time in the movie that Miguel would actually take a good look at Chell's decoder, and he would realize that the one that he stole from the captain looks very similar. They wouldn't have time to go into all of this though because it's time to go to the farewell feast. We would get the same scene with Sekal Khan that we have in the movie where he summons the stone jaguar, but this time he's doing it by using that decoder that he found in Miguel's stuff, which was in fact the decoder that did help him read the ancient text from that wicked book and grants the priest all of this dark magic of the gods that was sealed away in the book. At the festival, Miguel is hinting at wanting to stay in El Dorado, but they're interrupted by the stone jaguar like in the original movie. Tulio and Miguel would play fight like they do in the movie when confronted by the high priest and the stone jaguar, and they would dive into some real conflict also at this point, similar to like the movie. Just the conflict this time would be Miguel's desire to stay and Tulio's annoyance at Miguel's adventurous and careless spirit, and it would culminate in them defeating the high priest like they do in the film when they send him careening off the cliff into the ocean. They would also make a little bit more of an impact as well by throwing some of the texts into the ocean where they would dissolve into gold dust, thus implying that the people should live by the